and those sex robots. Did you see that picture?
I saw, you posted something, and I feel like I saw that same robot somewhere else. It's like a blonde female robot.
Yeah, there's a demonstration, and the company name was on the background of it. But they're making different, the genders. They're making different ethnicities, hair colors. You can customize what you want your sex robot to look like.
It's meant to be a sex robot.
One of many features, but that's number one.
Because the thing I saw, it was like, oh, this robot will help inside of households. And I'm like, she doesn't need to look like that to help in a household. That has a different idea behind it.
Yeah. Well, they have to create it so that it's a welcomed addition to your family.
Yep. That'll be welcomed.
What are your feelings? I mean, again, if we wanted human beings to have less babies, we throw in things that compete with that. And so, women overplayed their hand on this, right? Right?
Did we?
Totally. So women made it so hard to get sex, right? So hard to get sex that all you would have to do is throw a robot that was sex no matter what. And are men going to really jump the hurdle to get sex when they could just go home and I don't know, give it a name, Karen. We'll call it Karen because that's an unpopular name. So Karen's at home and she's just a robot. Am I going to do the dinner thing and all the inconveniences and the costs that go in nurturing a relationship to get the end result, which is sexual gratification, if I could just go home?
I have questions. There's a movie. Have you seen? I keep seeing little snippets of it online. There was a movie that Megan Fox made, and she's a robot, and she lives, and she's helping this family, and then the husband cheats on his wife with the robot, and I'm just I have questions.
All right, what's your questions?
Like physically, how does that work?
What do you mean?
It's metal parts. I'm assuming
doesn't have to be. You haven't been in a sex store lately, have you?
It's been a while.
All right. So I would go when you're feeling morally at a low, go into a sex shop and just look at the technologies that they have
for research.
For research, just for science. And I've seen them. I haven't used one, but I've seen them. They're actually you picture, the CPR dummies that used to bring into school, and they'd have a mouth that was rubber, plastic, and whatever. Sort of like that. It's just a portion of the pelvis, it's just
and it's realistic,
and it is made with rubber, whatever, that is made to be realistic, so that guys can get off on a doorknob. I mean, it's not going to take a whole lot for the guy's side.
Be that realistic.
And if you look at the girl toys out there, they're not uber realistic. They serve a single purpose, and you can create an analog close enough to be able to get gratification without it being a full body entity. But if you're making a robot and think of the legs and everything, the skeletal parts, all of the skin and all of the other elements can be replicated with the same thing that's in the little torso, right?
So then why would a female need a male? Couldn't women?
That's what I'm saying. Same thing.
Which, and again, this will then sort of decrease the population, would it not?
It will. I think the women part of it is, I think women a lot want the relationship more than just the action, and I think men are the opposite, where they want the action and they'll tolerate.
Think men will be like, no, I want a real woman that I.
Well, no, I mean we've got so much soy in our diet right now. We very well.
Wait, if they had soy in their diet, would they want a relationship?
Well, it's the amount of soy in everything, their blood and their muscles.
That's what they need to want a relationship.
If you cut someone's arm, estrogen flows out of the
You're
womb.
in a relationship, but are you only in it because you're full of soy and estrogen?
No, I'm not full of soy or estrogen. There are people that take a different path. And when there's less estrogen, then you don't have so much of the feels. That's the byproduct, is that feminization of men through chemical impacts and cultural impacts. Boys are turning into girls. They really are.
But if you take away that emotion, wouldn't we then just end up with a population that is only hooking up with robots because there's no emotion?
Yeah.
But that would be bad.
Yes. It would be bad. Again, this is the inevitability of what's going to happen. If you take all guys and say over the last 100 times that you had sex, how many of it was for the physical pleasure and how many were you just feeling the romance? And if you take probably 10% were for the romance, like you were just feeling it. Maybe you watched a tearjerker or another jerker on TV and felt like getting into it. But most of the times it's just the routine, right? The sexual gratification routine for guys. Now in women, that's probably skewed. 80% of the time, it's probably an emotional connection.
I've heard women are more mental.
Yeah. For sure. Oh, big time.
You're like, yeah, they are.
But so if you take all of the guys and only make them participate in the 10% relational when they feel like it, and 90% of the time they're just humping the latex girlfriend, right? Then that's what you do. It swaps the power dynamic of who needs the sex and who wants the sex.
You don't think there'll be enough guys that want to reproduce? That are like, probably well, I need real women. I want kids.
No, we just had a whole segment on dinks, right? People celebrating the fact that they're not having kids and they don't want it and they're selfish and narcissistic. They're not gravitating in that direction. There's definitely an age where a demarcation right on that age of people who celebrated and the whole purpose was to have a family and kids. And then everything below that is like, I'm going to, kids are a consequence. They're not a blessing.
They're going to cost me money.
Yeah. Exactly.
I want to keep my money.
I want to go on vacations and not put money into this little thing that eats a lot and smells terrible.
Especially when Social Security's going
not going to be there.
I need my money.
Right. So again, that inevitability is that guys are going to be, taking out their needs on something inanimate.
And again, that would be our fault. Because we make the robots and we buy them. No, humanity.
No, if women would have been easier to conquer, then
wait a minute.
Yes.
Wait a minute. You mean because women have standards? And it's like, hey,
you call them whatever you want.
I need to get my needs met, and maybe I want to reproduce.
If you have something of trade, something that somebody wants, you can pull that off. You can negotiate your way.
They want the personality and the companionship and the relationship.
10% of the time. But
10%.
The other percentage is they want the sex. How many relationships were predicated on, I'm not going to have the sex, I just want to get to know the person? And how many of them are hookups that just sexual gratification?
But
look at the numbers.
People are still getting married today.
That's fine.
When there are so many other options.
We're not doing in everything. I'm saying when there is an option, you're going to take a large percentage of the male population who chooses not to have sex with a needy real person and has sex with the not so needy robot.
But can't they kind of do that now? I mean, it might not be like a walking, talking robot, but there are more, maybe less advanced devices that they could use, but people are still getting married.
As they become more sophisticated and a one-for-one analog, it comes with other things. And we might be able to fill the whole emotional role, right, through the robot as well. Like maybe you might need something emotionally. Guys only need like a couple things, and it's way at less volume than women are. So my guess is that the robots will get so good that, and if it becomes taboo or there's a stigma, then it's a dead deal. If society can somehow throw some villainy at it, then maybe
I'm sure
we stave it out. But if it becomes acceptable and everybody's just like, hey, do what feels good, then it's going to be a thing. Nobody's going to be embarrassed about it. And women are going to have way less to choose from.
Like, oh, this is my robot companion.
Yeah. She's customizable. You can change her
wedding dates and they don't have to eat anything or drink anything.
Yep.
I still don't think it's going to be the same.
I think it will. I think
it will be the same if you are a psychopath. I mean,
listen, but
we are breeding a new generation of people that are turned off.
Yeah.
We are mentally tuning out. We are relying on devices. So those people could then look at a robot friend and be like, just as good as a real friend. Yeah. Because we're robots ourselves.
Well, you have to shift your needs. And that's what we've been doing, is taking the needs and like pushing them down to a different level. Like this is a small dose of everything we're talking about. Right. So this is like, I could call somebody up or I can text message them, right? Yeah. One is a less emotional exchange. And which one do you have preference? We have a generation that don't even like the call, when there was a need before of social
Yes.
interaction and learning how to communicate and whatever, right?
Yeah.
But in small doses, we're like, now, do I want to be able to say stuff anonymously, right? That's another step in the before. It would be like we would govern ourselves based on how we were to judge and how others would judge us. So it regulated our behaviors. We removed the regulation of behavior. So what you're doing is you're pointing to ideals that are being removed from society. So you want guys to choose women instead of sex robots, right?
Yeah.
But everything in every other department where we're taking out real connections, we're making these things just as good. It's just a matter of time before it spills up in a different department where you're not going to prefer the emotionally healthy one. You're going to prefer the one that benefits your narcissistic tendencies.